Welcome to If the Walls Could Talk in Buffalo podcast with Don Purdy, former member of the Buffalo Bills front office, 27 years, and Josh Cormier, a member of the coaching staff under the Wade Phillips regime. And we are here, as always, to talk with you about the Buffalo Bills of 1990 and, of course, 2022.
We're really pleased to be joined by Drew Hull, the son of legendary Bills offensive lineman Kent Hull. Drew and I got in contact on Twitter, and we're really excited to have him on the program. Thanks for coming on, Drew.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, just a little bit of background, how I found him. Drew runs the Kent Hull Foundation, and this is what it says on the website about the great Kent Hull. He was raised in the Delta town of Greenwood, Mississippi. He was an NFL center for the Buffalo Bills for 11 years. He was in 4 Super Bowls, obviously, and 3 Pro Bowls. After his stellar career, he had the following honors bestowed upon him. He's a member of the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame, the Mississippi State University Sports Hall of Fame, the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame, the Buffalo Bills Wall of Fame, the Mississippi State Football Ring of Honor, and then I do enjoy how you say the Professional Football Hall of Fame with the "stay tuned" in parentheses. So Drew, where are you joining us from today?
I'm at my office in Oxford, Mississippi.
Okay.
All right. What's your weather like?
A little chilly. You guys will probably think it was hot, but
right.
People here don't understand cold like you did in Buffalo.
This is true.
So can you tell us, I guess maybe we'll start with the foundation, like what what you guys do and
Sure.
What when your dad founded it and kind of what his mission was.
Yeah, so he started it probably towards the end of his playing career. He's worked with various organizations throughout the years, all of them supporting children that are in need. He did some work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, stuff like that. And in the past 15 or 20 years, I guess, we've been supporting an organization called the Candlelighters of Blair Batson Children's Hospital, which is located in Jackson, Mississippi. And what this organization does, it was founded and run by parents of children that are either currently going through or have gone through cancer treatment at the Children's Hospital. And kind of what they saw a need to where, you can typically donate just randomly to the hospital and you don't really know where that money's going. And the parents of these children saw a need to where the Candlelighters directly affects the experience for the families while they're there. It'll pay for meals while they're getting chemo treatment, put toys in the little playroom that they have on the cancer wing. One of my favorite examples that I like to give at our events is these kids that are going through cancer treatment, they get stuck with needles constantly, doing blood work, whatever it is. And so they have a need for Band-Aids. Well, the hospital just provides the generic skin colored Band-Aids. The Candlelighters purchases Band-Aids with like superheroes on them, princesses, stuff like that. And, that example kind of really sums up what they do.
Have you convinced them to get any Buffalo Bills Band-Aids?
We're not there yet.
Not there yet.
All right, we'll wait till this episode comes out. We're on a mission to get you some Bills. That's beautiful. Thing you don't think about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
beautiful.
That's amazing work. So can you let's go back a little ways. How old are you, Drew?
I'm 35.
35. So what memories, I guess I would ask first, that you have of Buffalo?
Your first memories too.
Yeah.
Like how far can you go back?
With your dad and being in Buffalo.
Well, I think my earliest memories really are kind of a jaded view of being a NFL fan. Growing up, I just thought that you had the regular season, then you had the playoffs, then you had the Super Bowl, then you had the Pro Bowl. I just thought that's what you were supposed to do here.
It was that easy, right?
It was that easy. But I guess my earliest memories are, just random. I was in the 4th grade when my dad retired. So I have just random memories throughout. Like I remember hanging out with Thurman Thomas in Honolulu at the Pro Bowl one year. I remember getting to go to the stadium for practice on Saturdays, and playing football with the other kids in the locker room, stuff like that. And it just seemed normal.
Yeah. Now, did you live here? I take it. Were you?
Yeah, we lived in Buffalo during the season, and then moved back to Mississippi during the off season.
Yeah. Where did you live? Like in the area?
We lived in Nottingham Village in Park.
Oh, yeah.
So your dad, did he tell you, like, basically when he came into the NFL, like coming to Buffalo must have been, quite a shock for a guy like him. Like what were his impressions? Like, do you remember what he would say about, coming to Buffalo, and did he immediately warm up to Buffalo?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He, and a lot of, I've listened to a lot of y'all's podcasts, and kind of the narrative is these guys, they're kind of like, oh no, I'm going to Buffalo, and obviously my dad's not here to speak to this, but I think that he just was thankful to be picked up by an NFL team. You look at his track record throughout his whole playing career. He was kind of the underdog the whole time, undersized, wasn't the strongest. But like Daryl Talley said, he was just tough.
Listen, if you hadn't heard that, I was going to play that for you, but just for the benefit of anyone that didn't hear that, if you don't mind, I'm going to play that for listeners that might not have heard that episode last week. I have it teed up. Hopefully the sound quality is pretty decent, but here that is.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. His dad was every bit of Hall of Fame center that I've ever seen. I've never seen anybody do some of the things he was doing. Some of the fights I seen on the field, he was not taking any whip nickels from anybody. Tough, call him tough. Because I'm telling you, you grab that country boy, you grab a whole lot of bandages.
He said something about a war too.
Yeah,
he went on, but something about you engaged in a war. So it was just classic. I'm glad you heard it. I just want our listeners to hear it too.
Love it.
It's awesome. What were your reactions when you heard that? I'm sure you've heard those kind of things before, but
I have, and it gives me chills every time I hear it. It's awesome. I love it.
Did your dad did he have a favorite player? Like, did he have a guy who he would tell you about? Oh man, this guy, like Daryl said, like if I could ask your dad, who would his, favorite Bill be? Or a guy who he thought was just, better than maybe people remember or realized?
That's a tough one. They had so many talented people on those teams. I do remember I remember him saying that Don Beebe was the fastest person he ever saw in his life. Obviously he had nothing but great things to say about Thurman Thomas, Daryl Talley, Bruce, all of them. But from a teammate standpoint, he would probably say Will Wolford.
All right. Yeah. Will Wolford was, your dad is the center of the offensive line, kind of the captain of the offensive line. As great a player as he was individually, he was the ultimate team player too. And the offensive line as a unit is kind of like a mini team. And he was clearly the leader of that. My role with the team back then when your dad played, Drew, was I was in the ticket office. So the players got a certain amount of tickets and they would sign. They all got like 6 or something for every home game. But they would go around, if they had a game where they had a bunch of family coming in, they would go around to other teammates and say, hey, are you using all 6? And if a guy said 4, oh, can I have 2? And then we would always work with them. And so a guy having a bunch of people coming in might get 20, 30 tickets. But we'd try to give them the best seats we had available. And I want to say, we're talking about hard tickets now, not the way they are today. An envelope, and we spent a lot of time trying to take care of them. And we made mistakes, or they would know the stadium, like, oh man, you got them there. Your dad was the most polite. He was such a gentleman. He would look at the tickets and be like, sounds good to me. And if there was anything, he just had a way of saying, any way of can I get a few more? And he just had a way about him that was so, I guess the word, like, so gentlemanly.
Yeah.
And I always appreciated that, because some of the guys
weren't that way.
no, they were shorter with it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think that goes back to, I think his whole career, he never thought he deserved anything. He felt like he was, lived in gratitude and was thankful to be there.
Yeah, that's how he. How's your mom doing?
She's great. She's great. She got remarried 2 years ago, I think, to a great guy, and she's being grandma now.
Oh yeah, that's right. Congratulations.
Yes, absolutely. So talk to me about your dad in college. Obviously being in the Mississippi State, Ring of Honor, Hall of Fame, Mississippi. I guess people up here might not realize, what a great career he had there. Obviously, how big college football is down there. I mean, he's a household name. How do people view him? Down where you live.
So I actually, funny you brought that up. I learned this a couple of years ago. He was the third string center. Now I could be getting this wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was the third string center on Mississippi State as a freshman. And for whatever reason, he had to come in the game, and he, and if you knew my dad, he never let facts get in the way of a good story. But the way he told it was, he was on the sideline with a big dip of Copenhagen in his mouth, and they called his name, and he swallowed it and had to go out there and face Ron Simmons against
the professional wrestler Ron Simmons.
Yeah, he was. Okay. He was also one of the best college nose tackles before he became a wrestler.
Okay,
so he's probably feeling nauseous to the point of wanting having swallowed it.
From multiple sources, feeling nausea.
Wow, that's an amazing story. So do you remember? Obviously, like the Super Bowl years, your dad retired in '95. Is that right? 96.
96.
So do you remember going to the Super Bowls? Like, how did your dad react? When they lost. Like how long did it take for him to kind of bounce back after the tough losses?
I never really saw that. I think he was very intentional about making sure that my sister and I grew up humble, I think. And I really, if I could ask him about stuff like that, he would talk about it. But, I don't remember his reaction after the Super Bowl losses at all, because I think he wanted to make sure that it was just business as usual at home.
You're the first family member that we've interviewed from an NFL player. Is there anything that you'd like to share, or people might not know about being the family member of a famous football player in Buffalo, but then I'm sure you still get some name recognition down there in Mississippi with how big college football is. Like, any funny stories or recollections you could share?
I'll tell you this story, and this probably kind of sums up how my dad was. I think I was probably in the second or third grade, and we were actually, it was during the off season, we were back here in Mississippi, and my friends were kind of starting to realize that my dad was quote unquote famous. And I learned about it at school one day, and I came home, and I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said something to my dad to let him know that I realized what that meant, and kind of alluded to the fact that I might have thought he was a little bit better than some of my friends' dads or something like that. And I'll never forget it. He sat me down and he looked me in the eye and he said, "I want you to understand something. I go to work every day. I work hard to put food on this table to support you and your sister and your mom. I do the same thing your friends dads do. I don't want to ever hear you brag about that again." And that was the end of that.
Now, he was an amazing, to have a guy like that in that locker room with the personalities and larger than life figures and egos, frankly, and the fact that he was like the center of the offensive line. It was like the perfect mix, and he was like the perfect guy in the perfect situation for that team.
It's one thing to be soft-spoken, which he was. It means when you do say something, it carries more of an impact. But that was just so humble. I'm not surprised at all. But that you're right when you say it sums up how he's thought of around here, above and beyond just being a great player. It's his humbleness too. That's good stuff. Yeah. So,
do you follow the Bills now?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Did your dad, after he retired, did he struggle? Once he retired, was it a big challenge for him?
Yeah, I think it was, and obviously he never really talked to me about it. But in recent years after he's passed, I've talked to friends and like his brother and stuff like that, and I don't. When I make this comment, I don't want to try to belittle what soldiers do in war, but it's kind of, I think he experienced a little PTSD.
Sure.
You could have made the argument at one point in his career that he was the best in the world at what he did.
Absolutely.
And, and then he came back to Mississippi and was, running a cattle farm.
That's quite a trend. Yeah. We talked to a bunch of the guys who really struggled with missing the camaraderie, being around the guys, being in the locker room.
That's what it is. I had the privilege of being in the NFL in a different capacity in the front office for 27 years, and that is such a consistent observation from players. They will always just say, and we went to war, and they were battling. You heard what Darryl Talley said about grabbing your dad. He grabbed the war, but it's missing. Their friends that in the locker room, and that every day it's a huge. It's like an on and off switch, and but I'm sure he handled it as well as anybody.
Yeah, and on that note too, I want to give a plug here for the Legends community and Jeremy Kelly, what he's doing with the Bills.
All right,
I've gotten to experience a little bit of that as Ken Hall's son, but I'm a Christian and I believe that God's will is perfect. But if that would have been around when my dad retired, I can't help but think he might still be here today.
Why do you say that? What work what are they doing that's so meaningful to you?
Like how they come together and they're able to, ex-players, they can talk about injuries, they can talk about finances. But most importantly, they stay in front of the fans. And they're professional athletes, but at the end of the day, they're entertainers, and entertainers are nothing without fans. And I saw it firsthand earlier this year. Me and 10 of my buddies came up for the home opener against the Titans, and we were walking around before the game, and we just happened to run into Darryl Talley. And so we stop and we're talking to him, and he's shooting the bull with my friends, just being as nice as he can be. But the whole time there's people coming up to him like, "Hey, Darryl, I love watching you play. Can I get a picture? Can I get an autograph?" And he was just so gracious, and you could just tell that he just loved every second of that, and it just energized him. And I think stuff like that is just so important for those guys. And Jeremy Kelly does a fantastic job, and he's
a good man. I've been talking with him. I know he's busy. We're going to try to get him on the show and maybe talk more about that. I'm really glad you brought that up because it would be good to have him on for a lot of reasons, especially to promote that program. And
I got to ask you, did you wear a jersey of your dad when you came up for the opener?
Okay, so I try to get up there at least once a year. This was the first year I've been since 2019.
Okay.
And I went in 2016. I wore my dad's jerseys to both of those games. This game, I wore 17.
There you go. Okay, your dad would be okay with that.
Yeah. Passing the torch toward. Yeah, that's great.
Is there anything else that you feel like people might need to know, or you want to let people know about your dad or your foundation, or kind of the journey that you've been on? And we're so happy that you reached out to me, and I know almost all the guys that we've talked to hold your dad in just the highest regard.
No, I just appreciate you guys having me on and love listening to your podcast. I think it's awesome. You're getting some guys on here that probably wouldn't be on another podcast otherwise. So it's really cool for me, especially it's real nostalgic for me to listen to. So
Good. Well,
made our day with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
You let me know the next time that you're going to come up to Buffalo, and
Sure.
the first beer's on me.
all right.
Love to meet you. I know a meeting usually is consummated by a handshake.
Yeah.
This is great, but it would be
Absolutely. And good luck with your new baby.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
All right, take care, Drew.
Thanks so much.
Go Bills.
Go
All right.
Bills.
Fellas, listen up. All you ever ask for is an opportunity. You got it today. Where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
I want to bid you now farewell, but not goodbye.
Thank you very much, Ralph. Today is a bittersweet day for me. Memories, many of which Mr. Wilson has alluded to, flood my mind right now. I'm surrounded by my thoughts and indeed by the presence of friends unparalleled. Visions from a lifetime of thrills keep flashing before me, and yet the future beckons, and I look forward to it with excitement and anticipation. Because I'll tell you something, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. So I advanced it on that. And we finally came to an agreement and decided to move forward. And so now my time with the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, has come to its natural conclusion. How do I begin to thank all those who have been instrumental in enriching my life here? Well, I can't do it adequately, and I know it. I can't adequately. But I'll remember you all fondly and forever.